Hello, in this project we're going to look at building a toy storage box. This one measures 11 3/4 of an inch by 11 3/4 inch and 11 3/4 of an inch. It is made out of 1/4 inch birch plywood, and you can cut all of this out, all of the panels, with your S1 20-watt laser. I have a project file set up for that specific laser, so it would probably work, of course, with the 40-watt laser. I'm not sure about the 10-watt laser, probably with multiple passes. So you probably want to play around with your settings file before you begin the project and make sure that you're able to cut through this particular material. The plywood panels, I bought a 4x8 sheet of birch plywood, and I used my table saw to break that down into 1 foot by 1 foot panels, and then I put those 1 foot by 1 foot panels in the laser to cut out each of the faces of this box. Then I came back after that was done and went ahead and engraved. Of course, you could put that together in your project file if you wanted to modify it, and go ahead and put your design on this panel if you wanted to, and let it do it all in one go. But the handle is built into the file, so that's already there, and you don't have to adjust that. It does have some rounded corners, and the finger joints are built into the file, so all of that is ready to go and sized to fit. It's a very snug fit, but we want this to be a really tight, solid joinery, so that way this can definitely take the abuse that my kids are probably going to give it. So it's pretty straight. So the things that you're going to need to apply stain, if you've not ever done that before, you may want to do some research on the proper methods. Definitely read the instructions on your stain. But what I'm doing is I always use some gloves, some latex gloves, just to keep that off of my hands. Always work in a well ventilated area, and I'm just using a cloth just to rub the stain onto it. You want to go with the direction of the grain whenever you're applying a stain, but again, there's always refer to the directions on the stain itself. So I'm just going to get ready here and start applying the stain. Alright, so just start with any of the panels. One of the things you want to do is make sure that your project table is definitely clean of any sawdust and stuff, just to make sure that you don't get that on the panels. And just start applying. I'm just going to rub this stain on along with the wood grain. But definitely work on a table like my assembly table that I've got here that you don't care to get stain on, because it gets everywhere usually when you're applying it. So just kind of go back and forth, and we'll come back and wipe off any excess. Just flip it over. Alright, that does it. So what I'm going to do is set these aside and let them dry for the recommended time on the stain. I actually have some more boxes that I'm going to be putting together, so I'm going to work on those while the stain is drying. Alright, so now that we've given some time for our panels to dry, what we want to do is just take a rag of some sort, and we'll take and wipe along the grain again. Make sure we get any excess stain off of the panels. We'll do that. So now that we're ready to start gluing these up, what I like to do is just kind of think about which side of the panel that I want facing out. So this panel is pretty good on both sides, so what I'm going to do is just kind of lay that out and think about which side I want. No, of course, remember these panels that are the same are going to be opposite sides of the base. So keep that in mind as you're laying things out. And one of the things that I had in my situation, and this is because of my table saw, was I had a little bit of chip out on the plywood pieces. So the veneer layer was torn off the top of it. So what I did just to kind of fix that was to put it on the inside of the panel, and so you can see that's going to be in the bottom and those won't ever really be seen. So just think about things like that when you're laying out the assembly of it. As you're gluing together, you want to think about what pieces or what parts of the pieces will be coming in contact with each other. So like this edge is going to be in between these two slots of this part of the panel. So I want glue to be along this edge right here, right in between these slots. And each of these fingers will go inside of these slots. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this so that when they slip in there, they get that glue gets spread around that. You could, if you really wanted to, take like a brush and go along the insides of that to make sure that you've got full coverage of glue. But here's what I do. I'm just going to take my just Gorilla Wood glue, just take that, and I just put a very thin bead of glue along each of these contact points, and they're going to probably squish out a little bit, and that's okay. So that looks good. Like I said, and so our first step is to start joining these two. So basically what I like to do is start working this together from one of the corners and just kind of line up those pieces and kind of work it in. You might have to wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Like I said, it's a tight fit, and the glue will help a little bit as far as getting those started. And like I did there, you just may want to use the palm of your hand. Bounce that in, and you'll see, I mean, like I said, you'll have some squeeze out along that inside edge, but that's okay. We just want to make sure we've got a good solid fit, and you'll see these pieces will come out flush to the edge of our outside piece, and so that's good there. All right, so you could at this time go ahead and take a rag and go along that edge and wipe all that glue squeeze out. And then push on that just a little bit more, make sure that fits. All right, so our next part is we're going to start working around and get the next panel. So the difference is whenever we get to doing these side panels, we want to do the finger joints up the side as well as the finger joints across the bottom. So it takes a little bit of wiggling. Again, keep in mind what you want as your outside piece and only put your glue on what's outside. So I am going to use, really this one could go either way. So I'm going to use this as the inside. It's just slight cup to the piece, and hopefully we can straighten that out as we push it onto it. So see I've got the parts glue on the areas that are going to come in contact with each other. And so just as I did before, we'll start by working those finger joints together and lining up this bottom one and kind of working from side to side, rocking it back and forth, and that'll get it, you can hear it kind of squeeze together. Give it a good bump, and that is going together super tight. That's what we want. We want a good tight fit. Alright, so my last step is to take some clamps and put those on, I like to do the top edge, so that way we can apply some even pressure. One important thing to note, if you put too much pressure and you deform the box, it might wobble. So you want to make sure that you just put enough pressure to squeeze the edges, the corners together, but you don't want to be bowing these side panels in or deforming the box anyway, because when it dries it will set up that way and you'll have a warped box. So now that we've got all the clamps on it, it is ready to dry, and we'll be ready to apply a coat of polyurethane to finish this project out.